Vamping with some awe. Maybe not spooky, but scary when it happened. Still a little jumpy with noises. Background: have an alcoholic mother with bad choice in boyfriend material. I'd been living in the forest near my house for about 3 weeks alone. Sleeping in trees, dumpster diving for food, going to the YMCA to shower, and do laundry somewhat regularly. I spent most of my time developing skills to not die. Black bears and stuff in the region. I had my trusty bow for this whole thing, no funds yet. One night while I'm trying to find a comfy tree to sleep in, I hear dogs barking. Figure it's just some redneck stupid dogs over at the farm on the edge of the woods. Rustling in the distance, more barking, a lot closer this time. Decide to get into a tree. As soon as I get around 6 feet off the ground, dogs burst into the clearing I was walking in. Dogs were definitely not owned by anybody. Haggard looking, no collars. Feral dogs. I keep climbing up to get more out of reach for the things because 6 feet felt a little low to the ground. Dogs notice me and start running around the tree barking and jumping. One big kicking dog can jump a little higher than the low branch I was on. Definitely glad I moved up. 6 dogs, German Shepherd, 2 golden retrievers, a mutt, smallish bulldog, big-ass Rottweiler. I begin throwing sticks at the dogs to scare them off. Smaller dogs move away from the bottom of the tree. Shepherd and Rott could be no less concerned with the sticks. Consider shooting the dogs with the bow, figure I shouldn't, because the corpse could attract bears, and I don't want to dig a hole or deal with more bears. The dogs eventually fuck off, and I wait another hour before climbing out of the tree. Nearly dark, so I find a tree with wide branches and post up as high as I could get. Tie myself in for the night, drift to sleep holding my bow at the ready in case of bears. Climb down out of the tree when the sun rises and visibility is up again. Luckily no fog this morning, so nothing to worry about on the ground. Walk about 4 miles through the woods toward the river that runs through it. I follow the river to town because no roads border it and there are convenient paths along it. On my way to town I see paw prints from those dogs right along the river. I stop and listen for anything that sounds ominous. Continuing on my merry way, because nothing seemed out of the ordinary, I get close to town and stash my bow to avoid getting harassed by cops. Cue washing clothes, dumpster diving for supplies. Shower afterward and going back for the forest. Get close to where I stashed my bow. Paw prints everywhere. The little fucks are following me. Grab my bow and climb a nearby tree for a vantage point. See the dogs on the other side of a little stream that runs into the river. Determine path to get around the buggers and take it. Walk back to the middle of the forest, where I try to stay to avoid contact arrest, as quietly as possible. Don't hear the dogs at all, standard woodland noises like squirrels and bugs and birds. Immediately upon getting to the area I stay. Smell wet dog and hear twigs snap in the underbrush. Climb the closest tree like I was getting paid for it. 3 of the dogs react as soon as I make a move and burst out of bushes at me. I made it into the tree in time to not get killed, which is good. Dogs circling tree. I decide that I'm not dealing with this the rest of the time I'm out here, however long that may be. Launch an arrow down at one of the bastards and it hits it in the neck right behind the skull. Dead on impact and falls to the ground without a sound. No more mutt. Other dogs run over to it and drag it off into the woods. I hear them crunching bones and ripping flesh. They took my arrow. I'm down to 4 until they leave the corpse. I don't have enough arrows to kill the rest of the dogs, and if I miss or only wound them then I can expect to be in this tree all day. Dogs leave the corpse after 3 hours of ripping into it. I can only hope a bear didn't wander up and scare them off. Might not be able to kill a bear before it kills me if I go to ground. I stay in the tree for a few more hours. It's getting dark again. Dark in the forest is what horror movie directors are dreaming of when they make a scene in the dark. I tactically out of the tree and wait a few minutes before moving away from the base to be sure that nothing is going to pop out at me. Wander over to the corpse of the dog, I retrieve my arrow and dip out of the area. Make it about a half mile before I realize it's getting too dark to stay on the ground. Walk to the nearest visible tree that looks habitable. Hear rustling at the underbrush and immediately pull my bow up to the sound. A ridiculously fat squirrel pops out of the bush. I make a move towards it, and it dips out. Consider killing the damn thing for food. Realize cooking it might be hard, and dogs would probably just roll up as soon as they smelled it. Climb the tree, that looked like a good choice, and tie in for the night. Wake up early morning to what I hope is a raccoon fucking around in the sticks around my tree. Look down to see a black bear. Tactically shit my pants and stare at it to make sure it isn't going to climb the tree. I yell to scare the thing off. Looks at me like I'm retarded. Lumbers away. Recover from that and climb down after I can't hear it anymore. This morning is a bit chilly, and the dew is ridiculous. Still no fog, luckily. I start a small fire to get the cold out of my bones. Barely got it going because of dew. After a bit I douse the fire in loose dirt. Wait for it to die out and leave the area. No dogs yet today. Feeling pretty good. Still uneasy and jumpy though. As the day drags on, I start getting more confident that the dogs might be off somewhere else after I killed their pal. Continue my daily routine of wandering around looking at stuff and trying to find places to sleep that look comfy. Suddenly barking. Really close barking. Run to a tree and climb up as fast as possible. Dogs come peeling into the clearing I'm in. They keep barking and circling the tree and jumping. I pull back on my bow and aim for the big dog. Hopefully it'll fuck up the pack. I hit the big dog in the shoulder. He drops for a second then starts ripping at the arrow. Manages to pull it out and keep running around barking. Apparently it hit bone and just sorta stopped. Draw again and aim for a smaller dog so I can actually kill it, hopefully distracting the other dogs. Hit ribs. Dog starts howling in pain and runs out of the clearing. Other dogs start chasing it and run it down quick. Hear pitiful howling from the dog as the others eat it. Retriever down. Hideous bone-crunching noises and flesh-tearing noises accompanied by howling and growling. Wait the dogs out and collect arrows. The first one was bent from the teeth of the Rottweiler. The second one was bent from the struggle. 3 arrows left. 4 dogs left. I start making traps in my free time. Hoping to kill the things more efficiently with less arrow loss. No such luck. 4 days and not one trap has sprung, much less killed anything. Dogs are making forays into my area more at night. I start waking up from little noises. Sometimes the dogs. Sometimes not. Even when it was the dogs I couldn't see them. Sleep deprivation seemed like a tactic way over the head of a dog, but these bastards were good at it. Getting sluggish during the day because these fucks wouldn't let me sleep. Reaction time started dropping, and they seemed to know. Bastards started to make more runs at me during the day. I'm glad they never really figured out laying in wait. Sleep deprived and too tired to do much else. I started sleeping during the day and just sitting in trees. The dogs wouldn't make attempts to get me in the trees during the day anymore. They'd wait until night or when I was walking. I started getting really jumpy from random noises, and I was getting mild hallucinations from the lack of sleep. Bad combo. About a week after I killed the most recent dog, they started coming in during the day while I was in a tree. I noticed some of them had new wounds. I first thought maybe a bear. But I noticed that they were really aggressive with each other now. Constantly trying to bite each other if one so much as bumped into another. I drew my bow again for the big one and hit it square in the chest right under the neck from the front. It made a hideous wheezing noise and started to run around aimlessly. The other dogs started to go for it, but it killed the small bulldog pretty quick and the rest backed off. 3 dogs, another dying. Watching the dogs try to drag the bulldog and fight the rot at the same time was interesting. The rot was starting to hack up foamy blood. As it was about to lay down, the shepherd ran from the side and bowled it over, bending my arrow and killing the rot. The remaining retriever and the shepherd didn't even bother to pull the dogs into the bushes but started ripping them apart right under me. I think they'd forgotten I was there. I quietly drew back my second to last arrow and caught the retriever behind the ear with it. Dropped immediately and didn't make a noise. I drew back my last arrow and tried to peg the shepherd with it, But he must have heard the last shot and ran away as soon as I was about to shoot. I still loosed the arrow. I thought I missed because he made it into the underbrush, but when I went to retrieve the arrows I saw blood where he ran off to. The next day I walked back to the clearing. The dogs were ripped up and there were some bear tracks. I started to follow the blood trail to find the hopefully dead dog. It led to a stream, and I couldn't find the dog or where he went from the stream. I heard growling after I crossed the stream. I couldn't figure out the source, so I climbed up a little bit. It was dying in a clearing just past some rotting logs. I took my last arrow and launched it into the dog's chest to kill it quickly. Clean kill. Could see it stop breathing from where I was. Retrieved my final functional arrow and decided I'd had it with the forest for a while. Went back to my mom's house totally unconcerned with her bullshit. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to subscribe.